Today, I'll talk about the neo-noir martial arts flick Ninja Assassin. There will be spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and be cautious. The film opens at an elderly, experienced man's tattoo business. He's working on a young thug when a minion arrives with an envelope full of black sand. The criminals have no idea what that implies, but the elderly guy freezes in fear. He says that the black sand heralds the approach of the world's most vicious and lethal ninjas. He experienced them a long time ago and knows firsthand how deadly they are. When the gangsters accuse him of being a coward, he shows them a severe scar on his chest inflicted by a ninja attack. He was born with a heart on the right side of his chest, which is why he is still alive today. A man's skull is suddenly slashed in two, splattering blood everywhere. Then, from the ceiling, a cable falls and drags a guy higher. Only chunks of his intestines reach the earth as he is hurled back. The ninjas remain concealed in the darkness and sever people's bodies and limbs all at once, resulting in a slaughter. The ninjas emerge from the dark corners of the chamber only when everyone has died. The Ozunu Clan of Japan is then presented to us. It is a ninja clan commanded by the cruel Lord Ozunu. The clan recruits youngsters from all around the globe and subjects them to grueling training to become the perfect ninja assassins. They are popular among international leaders but are unknown to the rest of the globe. Anyone who pays the clan £100 in gold may hire their assassins and assure the murder of the person they choose to kill. The Ozunu dynasty has been operating in the shadows for almost a century and is responsible for the killings of the Russian president, the Japanese prime minister, and many other high-ranking officials. Anyone who is aware of them is terrified of ever encountering them. Lord Ozunu introduces a new youngster called Reizo to the rest of the group during one of the sessions. He was abandoned by his parents and adopted by the clan's chief. Ozunu has a feeling Reizo will take over as clan chief after him. Reizo's training is more difficult because of the expectation. He has scars all over his body at the age of 11 from the punishment he receives for committing errors. One of the most crucial traits a ninja should possess is the ability to remain concealed. Reizo is forced to walk along a creaky hardwood floor, but a single sound causes his feet to be severed by a kayakatsu shogue. Because of the discomfort, the child has trouble sleeping at night. Then, for the first time in his life, he observes compassion when a female applies balm to his wounds. Kariko, a fellow ninja in training, is her name. The children are instructed not to feel anything, but Kariko is an exception. She does not believe in the clan's backing for violence and murders. Time flies by as Reizo and Kariko grow up together, seldom speaking but constantly watching out for one another. Reizo is now the most skilled ninja Ozunu has ever taught. However, in a battle against his senior Takeshi, he loses due to the opponent's poor strategy. The master permits it and instead blames Reizo for his weakness. He utilizes an excruciatingly painful finger-pressing method on Reizo, causing him to collapse in anguish. His ultimate challenge is to make it through the night without medical aid. When Ozunu returns the following morning, he finds him ready for the next day's instruction and is pleased that the pupil passed the exam. Reizo soon becomes the clan's most skilled ninja, defeating opponents while blindfolded and with his hands chained. Kariko is proud of him, but he is becoming dissatisfied with the Ozunu way of life. Reizo warns her after she repeatedly disregards the clan's minor regulations. He is afraid that if the leader finds out, he would take her heart away. But Kariko assures him that her heart is with Reizo and cannot be taken. She is ordered to injure an opponent with a knife during a training session. Ozunu slices Kariko's face and tosses her into a cage when she is unable to do it. Reizo sneaks out to greet her and provide her some water. Kariko climbs a wall to escape a few days later on a wet night, and Reizo joins her. But he decides to stay since he is devoted to the clan, and that is all he has ever known. Kariko is eventually apprehended and sentenced to death. In front of everyone, Senior Takeshi stabs her through the heart. Reizo loses a piece of himself that day, yet he chooses to remain faithful to the tribe. The setting shifts to the Europol headquarters in Berlin a few years later. Mika, a forensic researcher, discovered proof of the clan's existence. Unaware of how hazardous the knowledge may be, she presents it to her boss, Maslow. He refuses to believe in a hidden ninja organization known exclusively to the elites. However, Mika shows him the reports that reveal a link between the flow of money from international leaders and the deaths of many well-known persons. Maslow, now intrigued, chooses to investigate more. They eventually discover that a high-ranking KGB operative named Sabatin had made similar claims in the past. But when his work became more well-known, he was fired for being insane and finally slain. Then we meet Reizo, who is also in Berlin, living in a rundown flat for a specific mission. Every morning, he practices over a block of nails, as instructed by his instructor. He goes to the neighborhood wash business one day and meets a lady. She seems nice, but he immediately identifies her as a ninja. They both approach one another and engage in a fierce battle. After a moment, We observe blood flowing from a washing machine and the girl's corpse whirling inside it. Meanwhile, Mika moves her inquiry ahead by meeting with the widow of the former agent who was slain for discussing the clans. The lady adds that her husband was a strong and fearless guy before the controversy, but everything changed after that. He became such a coward that every door and window had at least 2 locks, and every area of the home was beautifully illuminated. He made no room for the shade, so the ninjas have nowhere to hide. Nonetheless, he was slain one night when the lights went off. The following day at work, a higher-ranking official visits Mika's office for an appraisal. He is clearly there to keep an eye on her since others are complaining about her being too interested about topics that don't concern her. Mika goes home warily that evening, only to discover that the whole block has lost electricity. Still, she enters her dark apartment, only to be ambushed by a ninja. Surprisingly, another ninja saves her life and eliminates the assassins. He is, of course, Reizo. Another flashback shows Reizo as an adult on his way to perform his first assassination. He vents his rage by brutally murdering the victim. He returns to the rooftop after the mission to greet the rest of the clan. Lord Ozunu expresses his admiration for Reizo and invites him to join him. Reizo, much to his surprise, strikes him with the Kayaketsu Shoge, which slices him across the face and an eye. His fellow ninja attacks him and pushes him over the building after severely injuring him. Reizo escapes the fall only by landing in the sea. Then, even when he recovered, he continued to work against the clan, interfering in all of Ozunu's assassination attempts. For the same reason, he saved Mika's life. Because ninjas employ a specific scent method to track them, they drive to a hotel and change their clothing. She then calls Maslow and informs him that she is with Reizo. The guy has been instructed to apprehend Reizo as soon as he appears. He is aware that Reizo is not their major adversary, but he must fulfill the instructions for his own safety. Reizo is so surrounded by police and detained as the 3 meet to discuss the next stage in the plan. He is brought to a hideaway and confined in a solitary confinement cell. Mika discovers that Maslow was jailed out of despair. Nonetheless, he refuses to let go of Reizo since he will be the most secure in the jail. Mika approaches him at night and gives him water. Reizo seizes the chance to announce that the assassins will arrive at any moment. Mika warns Maslow, but it is too late. The lights go out, and the ninjas emerge from the shadows. Even with the most modern weapon, soldiers have shown to be ineffective against warriors. Mika frees Reizo's hands from the shackles just before he is slain. He battles the ninjas and tells Mika to go since he can't rescue both of them. Even though Reizo is the finest pupil the Ozunu clan has ever had, facing a swarm of ninjas is challenging for him. He and Takeshi eventually end themselves on the road. Takeshi prepares to take Reizo's life for good, but Mika comes just in time and smashes him with her vehicle. She transports Reizo to a motel. Despite his terrible injuries, he refuses to see a medical. She sits alongside him, conversing with his subconscious self. She apologizes for not being of use to him and expresses gratitude for her life. She then takes out a tracking device, which informs Maslow of their whereabouts. But before the cops arrive, the assassins materialize out of nowhere and kidnap Reizo. When the cops come, all they discover is Mika sitting on the couch. She informs them that Reizo was kidnapped 10 minutes earlier. Reizo is introduced to Lord Ozunu at the clan's headquarters. The guy offers him one more opportunity to apologize, but Reizo declines. Ozunu is particularly enraged since he previously felt Reizo was going to replace him and take over as clan leader. He orders Reizo to stand in the identical position in which Kariko was killed. Reizo is then smacked 3 times using the finger jabbing method. Reizo vomits blood, although most individuals would die from a single strike of the method. Along with it, he vomits a tracking device. Mickey, accompanied by a complete police team, enters the premises and causes mayhem before the ninjas notice. Because many ninjas are slain with explosives, hiding in the dark is ineffective. Many individuals from both groups are killed in the subsequent conflict. Takeshi and his crew confront Reizo. Despite the fact that the conflict is unjust, he kills all the ninjas and waits for Takeshi's strike. The two then battle with all their strength, and Reizo eventually triumphs. Takeshi's limbs and, finally, his neck are severed. Reizo now only has to deal with his previous master Ozunu. He discovers the elderly guy sitting peacefully inside a chamber as others perish outside. The master demonstrates his mastery by vanishing into thin air and reappearing behind Reizo. He sends Reizo flying to the opposite room with only a shove. They then draw their swords and engage in a furious sword battle. Ozunu offers him another opportunity to repent, this time pretending to be Reizo's father. Reizo, on the other hand, responds that he is no one's kid and that killing Ozunu would be his first breath in life. With that stated, the two jump towards each other, but Ozunu vanishes once again. Mika enters the room unexpectedly, intending to assist Reizo. Ozunu, on the other hand, comes from the shadows and assaults her with a sword slashed through her chest. The struggle shifts to Ozunu's side until Reizo does the same maneuver and repeatedly cuts his body from the shadows. He is eventually murdered with a sword to his shoulder. Reizo leads Mika outdoors, and paramedics arrive to assist her. She was also born with a heart on the right side of her chest, indicating that she will live. Reizo leaps from the academy's wall in the last scene, just as Kiriko instructed. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, switch on notifications, and leave a like to support it. Thank you for your time.